Thanks for watching this edition of the Fox 7 Austin Crime Watch digital exclusive. I'm Meredith Aldis. We're taking a look at some of the crime stories that have made headlines recently in our area. New details in a gruesome case we've been following out of North Austin. Police say a second person has been charged with abuse of a corpse after experimenting on body parts. Earlier this month, an investigation led to the arrest of a mortuary employee. This week, a medical facility CEO and top advisor to the state for willed body programs was arrested. Fox 7 Austin's Tan Radford finds that both of those suspects have bonded out and are accused of using body parts to test the impact of embalming chemicals with or without formaldehyde.
53-year-old Meredith Aldis self-surrendered to the Travis County Jail on Monday. The Med to Market CEO and chair of the State Anatomical Advisory Committee is charged with aggravated perjury and abuse of corpse. A local criminal defense attorney reviewed the case that he calls rare.
And usually things like this don't get uncovered unless there's some sort of complaint that's filed. And so that's how this one came to light.
Earlier this month, the Texas Funeral Services Commission received information from a former employee of Capital Mortuary Services. The employee accused 50-year-old Adeline Bowie of forging at least 10 death certificates under his name without consent and experimenting on body parts. Austin police and several agencies opened an investigation, and a cease and desist was sent to the mortuary by the Texas Funeral Services Commission. Bowie admitted to forging the death certificates and experimenting on 15 bodies with the permission of Med to Market, a medical training facility in South Central Austin. Bowie turned herself in on April 18th and later bonded out.
As Ms. Bowie cooperated and confessed to some of these issues, then that's what uncovered Mr. Ali's involvement. The bodies were to be cremated, and then they received the corpses, and then that's where Ms. Bowie is accused of experimenting on bodies. Other times it comes directly from Med to Market, and they were supplying the body parts themselves to Ms. Bowie's mortuary.
According to court documents, Ali is accused of supplying arms to the mortuary that's not approved for testing on body parts, leading to the abuse of corpse charge. He is also accused of aggravated perjury after making a false statement under oath during the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services April 16th. Lawmakers were discussing Senate Bill 2721. It would increase regulations on donated remains.
Sounds like it's just kind of a strange coincidence that it happened at the same time that Mr. Ali was testifying in front of the Senate Committee. It did not appear to me from the documents that I've looked at that he was testifying in connection with this, but just that he was making false statements about his operation and about what Med to Market does.
Meredith Aldis' lawyer responded in a statement saying, in part, these charges are completely unfounded. To some degree, law enforcement investigators have to rely on information provided by others. In this case, it is clear that law enforcement has been provided with incorrect information.
Bond has been drastically reduced for the man accused of causing a deadly pileup on I-35 in March. Solomon Weldekiel Araya is connected to the crash involving more than a dozen cars on I-35 in North Austin. 5 people were killed. Detectives believe the semi-truck driver was under the influence of a central nervous system depressant, which could be a sedative or tranquilizer, to become calm or relaxed. But lab reports revealed the driver did not have any alcohol or drugs in his system. The driver's bond was recently reduced from more than $1 million down to $7,000. A man accused of impersonating a police officer in downtown Austin is now facing several charges. It happened around 2 in the morning on April 13th. Police say Joshua Parnell was driving a golf cart near West 6th and Oasis, claiming to be an undercover police officer. They say he was using a flashlight to flag down vehicles and then pull them over. 911 callers reported he was tasing people and even fired a BB gun into the back window of a vehicle. When officers arrived, they found the BB gun in Parnell's waistband, along with a taser, tactical vest, and 3 loaded magazines in the golf cart. Parnell is now charged with terroristic threat, criminal mischief, and impersonating a public servant. A 70-year-old woman continues to recover after being trapped under rubble when part of her home collapsed. She was right next door to the home that exploded recently in Northwest Austin. I spoke to the woman's son about what she went through and how she's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm shocked that she's alive.
David Shockrell's 70-year-old mother, Carol, was in this home on Double Spur Loop in Northwest Austin last Sunday morning.
She was sitting down on the edge of her bed to respond to a text message, and that's when the explosion happened.
It was an explosion so powerful it could be heard as far away as Georgetown, and it leveled the home just on the other side of Carol's bedroom.
It doesn't look like a house ever stood there.
Next door, Carol was trapped.
So the walls were blown in, the roof collapsed on her.
Shockrell says it took emergency crews about an hour to get to her.
They described it as excavating her from the rubble, is how they said it to me.
Carol was eventually taken to the hospital.
I was comforted by the fact that she was alive and that she had such a great team, attending to her. But I mean, I've never seen my mom like that, so it was pretty rough.
Shockrell says she's still in the hospital recovering after having several surgeries to fix multiple broken bones. And now he's trying to find a place for her to live in when she gets out.
It's very sketchy in there. The rafters are broken and sagging in.
Her home is now condemned, her car totaled. But he says he's thankful.
I certainly feel like there's higher forces at work here for, so many people to be affected and everyone to virtually be able to walk away from it.
Police have a murder suspect in custody after their truck broke down in Kerrville. 22-year-old Gonzalo Mendoza Gonzalez is accused of killing 22-year-old Samantha Fernandez. Detectives say the woman was found shot to death in a parking lot on April 27th at the Jordan Mueller apartment complex. Police discovered a pickup had pulled into the apartment complex's parking lot, and the victim went to meet them. After the shooting, the suspect drove off, but broke down in Kerrville. Still no word on any arrests following a homicide in a homeless camp in North Austin. Around 11:30 p.m. on April 25th, Austin police were called to a disturbance on Runberg Lane, just west of I-35. When they arrived, they found a woman unresponsive in an encampment in a wooded area. At this point, police are not saying how the victim was killed, but they do believe it was an isolated incident. If you have any information, you're urged to call APD. A Travis County jury has convicted a man for murder. 25-year-old Adam Brown was found guilty of murdering Christopher Rodriguez in March 2024. Investigators say Brown and his girlfriend were walking their dogs when one of their dogs barked and lunged at Rodriguez. Rodriguez allegedly threatened to kill the dogs, leading to an argument. Brown and his girlfriend went back to their apartment and returned with a gun and a baseball bat. Brown then shot Rodriguez in the chest, killing him. Brown's charge was reduced to second-degree murder from first-degree, as the jury believed Brown acted out of passion. Brown is set to serve 8 years in prison. Hayes County Corrections officer has been arrested for official oppression and tampering with a governmental record. John Duran is on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. He'd been with the department since July of 2022. Investigators say a female Hayes County inmate informed a corrections supervisor that she was a victim of sexual misconduct by one of the corrections officers. An investigation began and detectives found enough evidence to charge Duran with official oppression. He's accused of using his position as a corrections officer to get the inmate to do sexual acts.
Whether our corrections officer encouraged or coerced or talked her into doing anything sexually, it doesn't matter. Whether he touched her or not, he used the power of his position, the badge, the patch, the full uniform, the handcuffs, to either encourage or coerce this victim to do things sexually and very inappropriate. And I want everyone to know that if any of our employees do that, they will be held accountable to the higher standard.
As for the tampering with a government record, the sheriff said Duran had done other things at a previous job with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, but did not disclose that when he interviewed with Hayes County. The sheriff says they didn't find out about those issues before he was hired, and they will be looking into more thorough background checks. Texas lawmakers are pushing for a faster way to test DNA collected by suspected felons. I got more details, found out that some of those opposed say quicker isn't better.
The swab of a cheek, a DNA collection. Texas DPS says it's helping solve more cases. Current law mandates booking facilities collect a DNA sample from everyone who's arrested for a felony. Those are entered into a database to check for possible matches to unsolved cases across the country.
There have been many of those violent offenders that have been arrested, the DNA has matched, and they've been convicted, and justice has been served.
Texas DPS statistics reveal 37 samples led to hits in Travis County in fiscal year 2024. And across the state, it helped solve more than 1,000 cases.
And now we are advancing 2 additional pieces of legislation that will double down on the success.
SB 1723 is about the time it takes to get results. Traditional testing can take up to 72 hours. With rapid DNA testing, results from those DNA samples would be available within 90 to 120 minutes, and they'll know if a suspect is connected to other crimes before they're even released.
We want swift justice for the families and the victims that have been hurt by these individuals, and we need Texas laws to be current with the latest and greatest technology, certainly that protects privacy, but at the same time make sure that these violent offenders don't get away.
Criminal defense attorney Frank Abrams argues quicker isn't always better.
The issue is going to be how accurate the testing is, how the testing was done. Quite frankly, it boggles the imagination to think that something as important as this can be fast-tracked.
Everyone that's accused would have their due process protections in place.
This bill is waiting to be heard in the Criminal Justice Committee for lawmakers to debate.
Most cell phone users are familiar with the loud Amber Alert notification, but the woman whose idea led to the system believes changes are needed. Here's more from Fox's Diane England.
You're driving or otherwise preoccupied, and the Amber Alert sound blares from your cell phone. Because of federal restrictions, we are not using the alert's sound in our report, but most cell phone users are familiar with it.
On cell phones today, the minute you touch OK on the alert, it disappears, and you have to know where to hunt it down before you can get access to that information again.
Deanna Simone is the person whose simple idea in 1996 became what is today known across the globe as the Amber Alert. It followed her own feelings of helplessness as Arlington police and the community desperately searched for kidnapping and murder victim 9-year-old Amber Hagerman. However, today, Simone believes the use of the Amber Alert has become oversaturated and misused.
I don't mean to minimize the importance of a missing child report, but there is a very, very distinct difference between an Amber Alert and a missing child report.
And that's the thing that people lost sight of, is to be imminent danger of serious bodily injury or death. That's how we wrote it, that's how we sold it, that's how it was brought up, and how we put it into place.
Former Tarrant County Sheriff Dee Anderson, co-founder who worked alongside Simone in creating the alert, agrees completely. He says the criteria was always intended to be at the highest level of a threat to a child. He says some law enforcement agencies have strayed from that. He recalls a conversation with one officer.
Yeah, he admitted, he said, well, what we do in those child custody cases, we use it because it scares that non-custodial parent into bringing the kid back. And that's what happens. They go, oh God, they're looking for me. They take the kid back. Oh, we're not filing any charges, and they just use it as a tool. But that's not what it was designed for. That's not what it should be used for.
Simone hopes an effort gets underway to lobby lawmakers for change, with criteria aspects as well as the blaring Amber Alert notification itself.
We're using 30-year-old technology for a current day problem. I mean, if Sprouts can text me that mushrooms are on sale, certainly we can find a way to text the Amber Alerts to where they do not disrupt and jar people's life, where they have the information available.
It's what we feared from day one. We said if it gets to be routine, routine kills it. And I mean, it's a shell of what it was when we started it. Until the pendulum swings back where we're not just doing so many for so many reasons, it's not going to matter because nobody's going to pay attention anyway when they're so frequent.
For more on the stories featured in this episode, you can head to our website, fox7austin.com, click on the CrimeWatch section at the top of the page. You can also watch on our Fox Local mobile and connected TV apps. They're free to download. You can stream content on your phone as well as on multiple platforms like Roku and Apple TV. Thanks for watching this episode, the Fox 7 Austin Crime Watch digital exclusive. Don't forget to subscribe to the Fox 7 Austin YouTube channel.